Spirit of life, teach us to listen. Teach us to listen to the wisdom of our bodies and the knowledge that lies deep within. To the gentle guidance of butterflies in the stomach, the sting of remorse, the clenched stomach of worry, the peaceful heart of forgiveness. There is deep wisdom in our bodies. Teach us to listen. Spirit of life, teach us to listen to our friends and the knowledge of wise elders, to the overt messages of advice freely given, the subtle guidance of those we admire living out their values, the counsel of the ages collected over many lifetimes. There is deep wisdom in our gathered communities. Teach us to listen. Spirit of life, teach us to listen to our natural world and the knowledge of the earth, to the mystifying lesson that we are so small in such a vast universe. The steady message of the continual tides telling us that all will empty out and fill again. The daily message of the sun that dawn will break and light will return again and again and again. There is deep wisdom in our earth. Teach us to listen. Spirit of life, in moments of uncertainty, doubt, questioning, and discernment, teach us to listen. Amen. I invite Kate and Jen up here to join me for our reading this morning. This reading is by Eve Ensler, who many of you may know as the author of the Vagina Monologues. She's also a cancer survivor. This passage is taken from her memoir, and in this part of her story, she is at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, New York, receiving chemotherapy for some really invasive cancer. And in this part of her story, she's not sure if she's going to beat it. From her bed, she notices a tree outside her window. She writes, "I was too weak to think or write or call or even watch a movie. All I could do was stare at the tree, which was the only thing in my view. At first, it annoyed me, and I thought I would go mad from boredom. But after the first days and many hours, I began to see the tree. On Tuesday, I meditated on bark. On Friday, the green leaves shimmering in the late afternoon light. For hours, I lost myself, my body, my being dissolving into tree. I was raised in America. All value lies in the future, in the dream, in production. There is no present tense. There is no value in what is, only in what might be made or exploited from what already exists. Of course, the same was true for me. I had no inherent value. Without work or effort, without making myself into something significant, without proving my worth, I had no right or reason to be here. Life itself was inconsequential unless it led to something. Unless the tree would be wood, would be house, would be table, what value was there to tree? So to actually lie in my hospital bed and see the tree, enter the tree, to find the green life inherent in the tree. This was the awakening. Each morning I opened my eyes. I could not wait to focus on tree. I would let tree take me. Each day it was different, based on the light or wind or rain. Tree was a tonic and a cure, a guru and a teaching. I was not writing or producing or on the phone making anything happen. I was not contributing much more than my appreciation of tree, my love of green, my commitment to trunk and bark, my celebration of branch, my insane delight over the gentle white May blossoms that were beginning to flower everywhere. A month ago, I knew that I wanted to preach a sermon about balance for the fall equinox. Equinox is a Latin word meaning equal night. And on the day of the equinox, which is tomorrow, daytime and nighttime are of equal duration. A perfect balance of darkness and light. And of course, once my brain started to think about balance, I started seeing reminders of it everywhere. While hiking in the White Mountains, I came upon some small cairns, rocks carefully balanced on top of each other. It's magical to see this balancing act in the middle of a creek, in the middle of the wilderness. It reminds you that someone has been on this path before you. It reminds you of the value of taking time out to stop and balance rocks, not to be so quick to get where you are going, but just to be. It reminded me to bring in my cairn candle holder to use as our chalice this morning to represent balance. I've been drinking a special tea lately. It's made with peppermint and ginger and licorice to support digestive health. It's called Balance. I brought an extra tea bag in with me today if anyone wants to give it a try. It's especially good for tummy troubles. There's a lot of talk about a balanced diet, although as it turns out, everything we learned about that as children was wrong and apparently paid for by the dairy and beef and wheat industries. I've been working on balance at the gym. And last week, in our fabulous new local paper, The Independent, Kathy Stetson wrote a great article called Balancing Act about how it's important to do balancing exercises as we get older so that we are more steady on our feet and not too afraid of falling, which she says is one of the things that will contribute to us having a fall. Kathy says the clinical definition of balance is the ability to maintain the center of gravity over your base of support. She says balance is an interaction between the sensory information that you receive and the movements that you make to maintain equilibrium. Your eyes give you visual feedback about your position in the environment. Your inner ears sense the movements of your head. Nerve receptors in your muscles and joints detect your body's trajectory, and your brain integrates all of this, decides what to do about it, and commands your muscles to action. So that's a lot happening all at once. I would just like to congratulate all of us for doing that all of the time. And of course, we are also working on leading balanced lives. We want to get the ratio right of work and play, family and friends, gratitude and resistance, stillness and action, information and overload. I'm amazed that the things we are managing to balance, or trying to balance, in our lives. I've actually asked a few of our friends to think about that question and share with us this morning, what are you balancing in your life? And I've always wanted to have this Phil Donahue moment where I get to go into the audience with a microphone. Don't worry, introverts, I'm not coming for you. I already have approval from people who agreed to do this with me. So Jen, what are you balancing in your life right now?
Well, since you mentioned introvert, extrovert, I'm balancing my two sides because fortunately I'm extroverted enough to talk to you now and to get up there and be a tree. But seriously, I'm always balancing between my need to take time for myself and be quiet and my desire to be out in the world. And I find this time of year particularly difficult or challenging because in the summer I'm just given to my extroversion and wanting to be out in the world, and in this time of year we're beginning to draw in, but yet it's still so beautiful and there's still so much going on, so I'm balancing.
Thank you. And does your yoga practice or your mindfulness practice help you to stay balanced in life?
It's really invaluable to me because it helps me to be in touch with my body, which has so much wisdom, and helps me to stay present in the moment and enjoy things, which is just so valuable.
Thank you. All right, and Kate. Thank you both for being up there earlier, by the way. What are you balancing in your life right now, Kate?
I had to make a list, and this is just part of it. Motherhood, self-care, which is so many things, writing poetry, love, art, spiritual life, jobs, yoga, meditation, volunteer work, family, friends, and swimming.
When do you squeeze the swimming in?
Every morning before I start everything else.
She's not lying. I've seen her do it in the very freezing weather. And is it harder to stay balanced up there with 140 people watching you?
I didn't barely notice them. I found in yoga we have a focus point called a drishti, and so I picked something that is almost like if you send a sort of a laser light out to it, it's like having an extra limb to hold you up.
Thank you. Okay, I get to run around. Hi, Keith. What are you balancing in your life right now, Keith?
Oh, a bunch of things. My desire to go to the beach and be outside and work in the garden and to read and to do volunteer work and to tackle some projects that are on my list. And then there's the things that I really should be doing that I don't really want to do. So I balance all those all the time.
And is balancing easier now that you're retired?
It's harder.
That was unexpected. And is there anything around the meeting house that you're trying to balance these days?
Well, we're always trying to balance the budget.
Keith is our treasurer. So how would a congregation balance a budget? What goes into that?
Well, we're blessed with the fact that we have a lot of people that are cognizant of how much it costs to run the place, and they keep our expenses under control. And it's the generosity of the congregation that really keeps us going. And we are blessed with a very generous congregation, so keep it up.
Thank you, Keith. Okay. Hi, Tracy. First, can you tell us who's with you today?
Okay. I have 3 of my 10 kids with me, and what I'm balancing. Obviously, a lot of kids. Balancing 7 of my 10 kids at my home, 13 chickens, 2 ducks, a dog, a cat, a girlfriend, not in that particular order. And I guess just trying to stay happy and positive when it feels really scary with the world, and trying to teach my kids that they can make a difference.
And if someone in this room wanted to like cook your family dinner one night, would that help balance that day?
I am not known for my cooking, so I will say there are some people in here that generously, once in a while, I'll come home and there'll be like a giant loaf of bread, or Kathy Phipps dropped off some corn for us the other day, and with having chickens, I never know, is this human food or is this leftovers from my chickens? But yes, we always appreciate that.
And Alina and Casey, is like spinach and sardines your favorite if someone was going to make you some meal? No. What about like ordering a pizza or something? Yeah, all right. So take note and see me after the service. Thank you, Tracy. And Cricket, you were raising a family back in the day, but now I imagine you're balancing other things.
A few, yes.
What do you balance in your 90s?
Well, there's the 96 and 96 years of memories. And I look forward and wonder how much more time is there to collect and what kind of memories are waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, so balancing memories in the future.
What is and what's to come.
And is it true that as we age, our physical balance gets harder and harder?
Indeed, indeed. At 20, you're not the same as you're going to be at 90.
And I don't know, do you have your cane with you today? Yeah?
Me all the time. And when I had the surgery on my ankle, my goal was to get to the point where I can discard this cane. And the surgeon pointed out that a fall when you're in your 90s is not the same as a fall when you're in your 20s. So, okay, I traded in that Bolivian cane that was brown and black. And if I have to use a cane, I'll make it a little bit of a flamboyant gesture. Step aside, I'm coming through.
Thank you. Thank you, Cricket. Ellen, what are you balancing in your life right now?
Probably in this very moment, I'm balancing a little nervousness and just being here in love.
And I have a hunch that you brought something that you could balance today. Is that right?
Let me see.
Okay. Ooh. You want to come up here where folks can see that a little better?
It totally helps that there isn't chaos in the room. So your focus helps my focus. Thank you.
Do you want to bring up some helpers?
But one feather's never enough. I have a feeling there's someone else who'd like to try it. Could Lisa come up and
Takes a little practice. Ooh, you got it. You got it. Annie's here. She looks ready. Oh. Very nice. Thank you all. Zoe Lewis is here. Hello, Zoe. Zoe, what are you balancing in your life right now?
Well, Phil, it's all about balance, really, and I balanced, all the how to be happy, and it's the work and play for me. How much work do we do and how much do we play? And always in the winter, I know the summer is around the corner and I better get a lot of gigs. And I better get tons of gigs, otherwise I'm not going to have any money. But then I have too many gigs. And my girlfriend's always like, remember, don't have too many. Because then you get to have a beautiful summer and then you get to sing joyfully and it's all magic and special. So I suppose it's about not having it's about balance, having just the right amount of work and then you get to play, just the right amount of play. So for me it's work and play.
Thank you. And I know that a lot of people are familiar with your musical talent, but I've heard that you have a balancing talent as well. Yeah. Would you mind coming up and showing us?
Well, this is what you learn in the winter in Provincetown. So, I usually play the piano and do this at the same time, but I have to say, because of the balance, it often goes wrong. That's life. But I have noticed when I do this, and it goes wonky, people want to help. If I'm about to drop it, people often come to my assistance. In fact, if I start to falter, it's almost better sometimes, because then, people come and help. So this world is crazy. It is out of balance, but we can change it. We can help the world, because don't stop with one. We usually do it in the morning. Let's try two.
Wow. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Ah. Oh, three.
Next year I'll have five.
Wow. Woo! Oh, yay! Oh my gosh. Woo! Thank you, Zoe. Can we have a round of applause for all of our people who shared today? Quite a lot of talent we have in our midst. There's a well-known story about a sitar player who was discouraged with his meditation practice, and he went to the Buddha to ask for instruction. What happens when you tune your instrument too tightly? The Buddha asked. "The strings break," the musician replied. "And what happens when you string it too loosely?" "When it's too loose, no sound comes out," the musician answered. "The string that produces a beautiful sound is not too tight and not too loose." That, said the Buddha, is how to practice. Not too tight and not too loose. In the Buddha's own life, he was also striving to achieve balance. As Siddhartha Gautama, he grew up with great privilege. He lived in a life of ease. But when he was exposed to poverty for the first time, he was horrified. So he gave up all his wealth and comforts and became an ascetic. He starved himself and meditated all the time. But that didn't feel right either, which is when he developed his concept of the middle way, the middle path. And that is what we are each seeking in our own way, right? Some kind of middle way, some kind of balance. What that little newspaper article that I was talking about earlier tells us is that we can practice balance. We can get better at it. There are exercises we can do, like rocking back and forth on our feet, that will help our bodies with all those things it needs to calculate to keep us steady. But I don't think that's just advice for elders or for yoga practitioners. I think it's advice for all of us in all the ways that we are trying to live in balance. We can work at it. And we can learn a great deal from the times when we feel out of balance, when our strings are not making music. Our bodies and minds and spirits tell us when we are not finding that middle way. When we've spent too long by ourselves, we get lonely. When we've spent too much money, we feel guilty. When we have poured ourselves out for everyone but ourselves, we feel exhausted. We come back here to this place in part because it helps us to find balance in our lives. Now remember that clinical definition of balance is the ability to maintain the center of gravity over your base of support, right? So your own strong core of your body and your core muscle groups can be your base of support. But also your strong core of knowing who you are and what is important to you can act as your base of support. And this community also can sometimes be that for you. It's a place for seeking balance. It's a place and a community that asks us to look at the big picture, to reassess our lives and choices. At the very least, it is an hour a week where we can be still and be fed by the silence and the music and the message and each other, where we can appreciate tree or candle or sunlight casting shadow. So may you leave here today a little more in balance. And I invite all of the kids who are here today and any adults who would like to try to meet us out on the lawn after service to practice balancing feathers with Ellen. I don't think that was the only feather she brought today, so please join us out there. Some of us might want to practice handstands or other yoga poses. Some of us might like to just practice rocking back and forth on our feet. And if you can't think of anything to say during coffee hour today, I would offer that, what are you balancing in your life? Is a pretty good question. Get you started. But for now, this place is a gift. You are a gift. And in each moment of the day, we have an opportunity to become more in balance. Don't forget to practice rocking back and forth on your feet if you want, remembering who you are in your core if you want, and coming back here if you want. Go in peace.